Dear learners, welcome to my channel for learning machine learning using Python. This is lecture 1 and I am Sunil Rathod, bringing you a very new series that is machine learning using Python, in which we will be having a separate series of lectures on machine learning and Python so that you can independently learn Python and machine learning. Now this is the syllabus of Python. So we have divided this Python course into two different modules. First one is core Python. The second one is advanced Python. So in core Python, we will be having environment setup, basic syntax, variable and data types, basic operations or operators, decision making, loops, numbers, strings, lists, tuples, dictionaries, date and time, library, functions, modules, file IO, and exception handling. And in advanced Python, we'll learn what exactly is classes, objects, regular expressions, CGI programming, then database access. We'll be working with network programming. We'll see how to send email using Python program, multi-threading aspects of the Python, XML processing, that is XML parsing, and GUI programming. So we'll first start with the core Python syllabus, and under this syllabus we'll cover everything from right from environment setup to exception in the Python. Now, contents of this particular lecture are that is overview of Python, environment setup, basic syntax, variable and data types, basic operators. So dear learners, we have a long journey of this Python syllabus. So have a patience and be with me to learn everything step by step. Now let us start with the very first point to be covered, that is features. Python is highly structured language, I may say, but it is a high level general purpose programming language exhibiting features of all programming languages like C, C++, Java, Perl, various scripting languages, then Fortran and many others to name. Like Java, Python code is automatically compiled to bytecode and executed. So Java has two components working internally. In the same way, Python also works with the two components, that is called compiler and interpreter. Now the source code of Java is interpreted and compiled as well. As you perhaps might have learned Java before this, so you can understand this. But don't worry, we'll be studying these things step by step here as a Python study. It has a strong object-oriented programming inheritance and has very powerful features of OOPS present in it. Now if we see the figure, Python has various features like Python program is very easy to write. Once you understand the different libraries in Python, you can write the code in very easy way. You can understand the code in easy way because Python syntax and semantics are very obvious, and a person who knows English well can understand the program in very simple way. It is object oriented, it has a robust standard libraries. We'll see in the application of the Pythons wherein you'll see that there are huge libraries, and these libraries can be used in large number of applications developed nowadays. It supports various programming paradigms. It supports the interactive way of programming. It is dynamically typed and has a strong type checking features. Then it supports database and GUI programming features. It is extensible, it is portable, it is scalable as well. It is integrated. It has automatic garbage collection like Java, and it is free and open source. That is the most important thing. So don't worry, we will be exploring these features step by step, not all together. because we don't have to learn these features, we have to understand and experience these features through programming. Now, before getting into the Python programming skills, let us see the applications. What do you think, friends? What probably might be the applications of Python? Now, let us see what it is. Now, Python has dominated almost every aspects of life. Like, it is used in web development, it is used in data science, which is emerging field nowadays, machine learning, then computer vision, cryptography, artificial intelligence, then data structures, web applications, games, web crawler, web frameworks, business applications. It is used in operating system development, language development, that is designing the compilers, various compilers of your choice. It supports GUI-based desktop application development. It also used in prototyping. No, and last but not least, it is used in education, and the most important is IoT, that is called Internet of Things. Python can be used in various environments like desktop, laptops, tab, mobiles. So you'll find various versions of Python to be used in various different electronics gadgets. Now Python can be installed successfully in various operating environments as well. For example, all the versions of the Microsoft Windows, you'll find that Python ships with various Unix Linux flavor as well, because Unix and Linux has various different flavors, hundreds of flavors you'll find in market. Then it supports Mac OS, it also supports IBM OS, it also supports even various mobile OS. So to get the knowledge of how to set up the environments and how to do installation, you can visit the website called www.python.org downloads, wherein you will get different types of setup files of Pythons which can be used as per the configuration of your system. Now, all the latest versions of OS uh, have something called Software Center, which ships with those OSs. Now, if you go to those OSs and go to the Software Center, you'll be getting the list of various applications which you can install. And among those, you'll find one of the applications you can directly install, provided that you have internet connection, and that application is Python. So that will be very easy for you to get it installed and configured. Now, I highly recommend that you use PyCharm or Anaconda IDE, that is called Integrated Development Environment, wherein you will be getting a very fantastic GUI based programming environment, various different tools to make your programming life easy, comfortable, and happy. Now we'll see basic syntax. The first is identifiers. Now what is identifier? An identifier in the programming language is any meaningful name given to the variables, arrays, then we can see methods, modules, classes or constants defined in the language. Now if you have already learned some language or other like C, C++, Java or any other language, you will find that you have used these things extensively, like variables, arrays, then methods, modules, classes. You perhaps might have defined constants. Now all these things are called identifiers in programming language. So every programming language has certain identifier. So these identifiers are defined in some specific way. Now for defining Python identifiers, you have to follow some general rules as well as some specific rules. Now we'll see what are the general rules to be followed to define any of the identifiers like variable names or arrays or methods, modules or classes or constants or some other identifiers used in Python programming. So Python supports the lowercase letters A to Z, uppercase letters A to Z, digits 0 to 9 and combination of digits from 0 to 9. It supports underscore character while naming the identifier, and to define any identifier, that identifier must begin with either a character or underscore. For example, I have defined some variables as identifiers here. So NUMBR number is my first identifier, which is a variable, first variable here. Now I have a second variable identifier like underscore name, and I have defined one more identifier called as val3. So these are three identifiers which are nothing but the combination of special symbols, alphanumeric characters. Now identifiers are case sensitive. Basically, for example, my name is Sunil. If I write it as a SUNIL in all small case letters or lowercase letters, and if I write SUNIL with initial letter S as a capital, it doesn't make any difference. For you, it is Sunil, my name. But for a language, these two things are different. For example, here I have defined two names, that is value, VALUE value. All characters in this name are lowercase characters, and a value in which initial letter V is capital. Now these two are different identifiers, as first initial letter of the two words is different. Even though rest of the characters are same, even though the meaning of this particular word value is same. Now there are certain names, special names used in Python, that Python, you will find sometimes that Python identifier names starts with double underscore and also ends with double underscore. So these are the special names which will be having at the starting two underscore characters and at the end two underscore characters. So for example, you will find at the time of Python programming that you will be writing underscore underscore main underscore underscore. So what does it mean? So that main is the special identifier. So we'll learn this in subsequent lectures, don't worry. So you may also find that some of the identifier names starts with single underscore. So that shows or that indicates that that particular identifier name is a private and not imported from any module. So what this private is and what this import and modules are, will learn in the subsequent lectures. Now there are certain specific rules. So even though these rules or naming conventions are followed by professionals, but those naming conventions are not rigid. That means it won't be making much difference even if you deviate from the given rules. For example, in case of modules and package naming of the Python, your name should be in lowercase letter. That we'll see under modules and packages. So global and constants which are used as identifiers in Python programming should be in uppercase. That also we'll see, and perhaps these things are well understood well in advance by the programmers like C, C++ and Java. Okay, those who have gone through these programming languages, they may easily understand what these global and constants are. But don't worry, we'll be covering each of these things in details, assuming that we don't know anything about Python. Now class names can be a bumpy caps with initial upper letter. That means suppose you have a class name student record. So in this you will be having two words to define a class name, student and records. So in this case, class C capital sorry, student S capital and records R capital. So with this we'll join these two words and create an identifier class name, that is student record. You'll see this in the lectures which will be focused on classes in Python. Now methods and functions, you can use lowercase letter, and perhaps to join two or more words while creating an identifier for method or function name, you'll be using underscore. Now local variables, again lowercase or uppercase, whatever you prefer. Now let us see the basic syntax under which we'll see now what are keywords. Keywords are reserved words. What does it mean by reserved word? Reserved words are the words which can't be freely used in programming, and these words, as are reserved words, those are called keywords, they have specific meaning to the language, and these keywords can't be used as any identifier name. As I told you that you don't have freedom to use these keywords as a variable name or an array name or a function name or method name or a class name, and the meaning of these keywords can't be changed. For example, I have here a table in which I have listed different keywords of Python. Now if you see, that is true, false, then if, elif, raise, finally, for. Now if I take any of these words, for example, if I take if as a keyword, if this keyword has a specific meaning to the compiler or interpreter or a Python more specifically. Now if I try to use if as a for or a do, it won't go, because if has already been defined in the Python and you have to use with the associated syntax and semantics of if. We'll see this while dealing with the actual programming aspects. Now here I have highlighted some of the words in red. The reason is that if you are C, C++ or Java programmers, perhaps you might have arrived with the words which are in black color, but the words which I have highlighted in red colors are perhaps new in the world of Python. Can you guess how many words are there in keywords are there in Python? Can you remember or recall, if you already learned C, C++, Java, that how many numbers of keywords are present in various different languages like C, C++, Java? So let us see. So here are the number of keywords supported by various languages. So C has a 32 keywords, that is it has a set of keywords 32. C++ supports 64 keywords or more depending on the compiler and the environment in which you use the compiler. Java supports 51 keywords and Python just 33. Can you imagine? With just 33 keywords, Python is dominating the programming world. Now let us start with the next topic, that is variables. Variables are name given to values in memory of Python. Now what do you mean, what does it mean by memory of Python? Memory of Python means the memory used by Python environment. So whatever values are being stored in this memory those values can be accessed or referred by Python using variable names. Now variables are identifiers, and these variables follow all the rules of the identifiers which we have already studied in the earlier slides. So unlike C++, Java counterpart, Python variables are created on fly, and hence Python is also called as a dynamically typed language. Now what does it mean by creation of variables on fly? Now let us take an example that I have created a variable a and assigned value 25 to it. To do this, first of all, start the Python editor, type in it and run the code, or else you can go to the command prompt. So here I have Anaconda in my system, so I have opened the Anaconda prompt, and on Anaconda prompt I have typed Python, so I got a Python prompt. So you'll find that that prompt looks like 3 times greater than symbol. So here I have created a variable a, assigned value 25, and on the Python prompt, if simply I type a and press enter, I get a value 25. Now I have created one more variable, that is b. I assigned value 3.4 to it, and if I try to print value of b, I have to just simply type b on the Python prompt, press enter, I get answer 3.4 as output. Now I have created one more variable name to which I have assigned a value like string Sunil. If I again print the value of name, I get a Sunil as output. I have created one more variable that is called char1 and assigned capital A as the character constant value to it. And if I try to print the value of char1, I get A printed as output. What does it is? If you see C++ or Java counterpart, you will find that the variables of Pythons are created dynamically. You can create the variables as you keep typing the variable names and assigning values using keyboard. Now see the C++ counterpart. Now had that been the case, to define variables in C++ or Java, it would have been something like I have to declare a type of the variable, then variable name, and perhaps I may initialize the variable with certain value. So here to define a as an integer variable, I have to specify integer as a type of the variable, then value assigned to it, and if I now say print it using cout, that is C++ way of printing the value, I get answer 25. Now here if you try to map the way variables are created in other programming language and the way variables are created in Python, you'll find that you don't have to worry of first declaring the variable, perhaps might be initializing it and then using it. So here variables are created on fly. You don't have to worry of specifying the type of the variables in Python. This is the most fascinating feature of Python, you may say. With this, there are so many fascinating things happening in background with Python. We'll see in the subsequent slides. Now, if you try to understand that how these variables on fly are treated, so for your surprise, these variables are very well treated and operated like any other language. For example, C, C++, Java, whatever the interpretation is done by the compiler to any of the variables, same interpretation is done by Python program. Now for your surprise, if I use a type command and if I specify variable name, I get a type of that particular variable. So as you have already seen, I have created some odd four variables, that is variable A, variable B, variable name, variable char1. Now if I try to know the type of these variables in Python, you will find Python returns the type of that particular variable. For instance, if I type A, so it tells me that type of A is int, type of B is float, type of name is str, type of char1 is also str. So for your surprise here, the string and the characters are treated in the same way, similar way. Isn't it a surprising thing? Yes, of course it is surprising. Like Python says that whatever you call built-in in other languages, that built-in is class for me in Python. And what of the C, C++, Java counterpart? For C, C++, Java, this int, float, char, everything is built in for us. So all these float, int, char, strings are built in for C, C++, Java. But for Python, these are all classes. So everything is driven by object oriented paradigm. That is, for Python, everything is driven by OOP. That is called object oriented programming paradigm. Now let us see data types in more details. As I said, in Python, variables do not have type, or I may say any variable doesn't have any type, but values assigned to the variables do have type. What does it mean? As we have seen in the earlier slide, that if I create variable A and assign value 25 to it, A automatically takes the characteristic of class int. And if I type, for instance, I have created a variable A. Now A says I hold value 25. And if I try to find out what is the type of A, I get an answer, that is A says I am bound with class int. But now if I change the value of the variable, or I may say that if I reassign value to variable A, say 56.77, which is a float value, now A says I hold value 56.77. But now if I try to know what A is, surprisingly A is not now a class int, it is a class float. A says I am bound with class float now. So this proves that variable A doesn't have any type. A can be of int type if I assign int value to it. A can be of float type if I assign float value to it. This proves that in Python, variables do not have any type, but values do have type, and values do have the characteristic of data type. Isn't it a surprising thing? Yes, of course it is. And that is the beauty and robustness of Python programming. Let us explore few more features. Now here we'll try to understand the way variables are treated in Python. Now in Python, these variable keep reference of values. That means values are stored somewhere in memory, and if I want to get those values in my programming, I mean to say, if I want to access those values in my program, Python program, I need to create a variable, and those variables will be accessing the value stored in Python memory using references. Now here, whatever data types are internally used by Python, the data types like integer, float, string are immutable. So what does it mean by data types are immutable? So let us try to understand this concept with a program which we have already seen, not exactly the programs, the variables we already studied. Like I have a variable a to which I assign value 25. Now if I try to know the type of a, it shows that a is of class type int. If I reassign the value 56.77 to a, now the type of a is the type exactly of the value specified at right hand side of the a. Here it is class float. Now how it happens, like earlier the type of a was int when right hand side value was int, and type of a is now float when a has been assigned value 56.77. Now if you see the third rectangle of this slide, so when you say a equal to 25, Python creates a variable as well as a value. Value is separately stored and variable has its own separate existence. Now assume that memory reference rf1 is an address of value 25. Now that value 25 has all the characteristic of int class in the Python. Now at this moment a keeps a reference of memory called ref1, and if I try to know what is value of a, Python will return value 25. Now if I reassign a equal to 56.77, again a separate memory will be given to a value 56.77 with memory address ref2. Now here the value 25 will not be updated because the data types like int, float, strings are immutable. That means once the values are assigned to the memory reference, those values can't be changed. If values are not changed, those values are immutable. Immutable itself means which can't be changed. So Python will not override the value 25 like your C, C++, Java language. Rather, it will create a separate memory reference for value 56.77. It will update the reference of A to new reference value ref2, and now if you try to print value of A, you will get a new value assigned to A, that is 56.77. Now question is, what happens to this value 25? It's a big question, as that value is not being referred by any other reference variable or any other variable, I may say. Here a very smart entity of Python comes into picture, and that is nothing but a garbage collector. Garbage collector will recollect this memory and free this memory. So this is again a beauty of Python. Unlike your C, C, C++ and Java, Python has its own way of treating the variables in one way and the values in the different way, in very different way. Now let us try to explore few more features of Python. Now let us come to the operators part. Now Python supports various operators. Now operators are nothing but the symbols, and each of these symbols are given a designated task. That means if I say plus is the symbol, now that plus has a designated task to perform addition on the operands associated with the plus. Similarly, if I say or is the operator, it also has certain meaning associated with it, and it has certain designated tasks to be performed if it is used with the operands. Now there are different types of operators supported by Python, like arithmetic operator, logical operator, assignment operator, comparison operator, bitwise operator, identity operators, and membership operators. Perhaps these identity and membership operators are new to the traditional programmers like C, C++, and even perhaps Java also. So we'll see these things in more details as we proceed with the further aspects of Python programming. Now let us try to understand how this operator works in Python. Now Python is interpreted language. That means you can type one command at a time and can execute that command independently, irrespective of whatever commands you have written earlier to that specific command and whatever commands you will be issuing after that specific command. That means one command, one execution. This way it works. Now, as Python is an interpreted language, it can be effectively used as a calculator. You need not go to any compiler or interpreter editor, type there the program, compile the program, and then go for execution. This is the traditional way of executing the programs in C, C++, or Java. But in Python, you can directly go to the prompt and can perform the operations just like you do in calculator. So for instance, I have here tried to perform basic operations like addition, subtraction, multiplication, then division, then integer division. Then I have modulus operator. Then I have various way of performing the modulus operation on the different numbers rather. Now, if you see carefully all these operations, you will find that once you type the operator and the operands and press enter on the Python prompt, immediately Python performs the operations and gives you answer as output. For example, if I perform addition operation 4 plus 5, I get answer 9. 12 minus 3, again I get answer 9. If I perform multiplication, that is 10 asterisk 24, I get answer 224. If I say 10 divided by 7, so for your surprise, I get a perfect answer with a larger digit of precision after decimal point. If I say 10 divided by 7, I get answer as 1.4285714285714286. But unlike your C, C++, Java, here for getting the integer division, I need to use double slash, front slash as a division operator. Double front slash is an integer division operator. It gives me everything before decimal point and it truncates everything after decimal point. Now here comes a modulus operator. I have tried to perform division of 10 with 7. So if I say 10 modulus 7, I get answer 3. And for your surprise, here in case of Python, modulus operator works well with real numbers. If I say 2.3 modulus 2.0, I get answer 0.29999 something. And even if I try to use modulus with integer numbers, it works well. If I say 23 for modulus 2, I get answer 2. Now I have one more operator used in Python as a basic arithmetic operator, that is double star, double asterisk. So if I say 4 double asterisk 3, that works as a power operator. That means 4 raised to power 3. So it multiplies 4 3 times and it gives you answer 64. What of the C, C++ counterpart? Now let us see this. Now in C, C++, Java, modulus works only with integer values. Here in C, C++, Java, double asterisk, that is a power operator, is not supported. And in case of C, C++, Java, your double slash is not integer division operator, rather it is used to comment the code. Front, that is front slash 2 times, will tell the compiler in C, C++, Java that whatever you write after 2 front slash, that is whatever is followed by a double front slash, that is the comment for the program. So this way you'll find so many fantastic, amazing features in Python, and that's why Python is really a powerful and a language which helps us to make fun in programming world. Now here is the presence of Python. Why should one learn Python? I started my programming life with, I mean to say, with a age-old language that was Fortran 7.7. Parallelly, I was working with so many other languages at that time. Eventually, I got to switch to C and then C++ as world was getting driven by object orientedness, and eventually Java. But now the current scenario and the happenings in the world has forced me to learn Python. So welcome in the world of Python. So these are the companies where Python is used extensively. NASA uses Python, your favorite Instagram, then Google, IBM, and so many companies to name. So dear friends, how was the session? How was the overall flow of the presentation? Please mention it in comments, subscribe to my channel. If you like this video, share among your friends, make world knowledgeable, share your knowledge and get enriched in various aspects of the programming. Thank you so much. We'll be back in the next lecture with the remaining features of Python. Thank you so much.